I guess this is our rookie day because obviously Ryan is a rookie. Has been with us uh, not too long, full time
Since January, about 6 months. It's about 6 months.
6 months, so not even the first year yet. But he's doing good. Starting to become a consistent 10K a week
Hmm.
producer. You'll finish out July, right? Like what, 30 something?
Yeah, 30, probably hopefully 35 if today goes well. It should be 35.
35. So yeah, 12K for the week so far. So doing good. So we're gonna it'll be a little bit different angle on the manager's call because obviously Ryan is aspiring to be a manager. He's definitely well on his way, and but kind of want to hit it because obviously it was pretty. I got to recruit, Ryan, and it was I want us to go through the situation for everybody. We're really just talking about it, but it was pretty funny because I was working for another insurance industry or
Hmm.
insurance company, and that I was not overly fond of. And Ryan, what did you meet him on an Indeed ad? How did you? I don't know if we ever went over
Yeah,
this. How did you do your interview?
yeah. So yeah,
And
I
how'd
mean,
you find out I worked there?
I was working at a lawn care company. How did I find out that you worked there? And I saw an ad on Indeed for shall remain nameless, but an insurance agency for like a sales position. That's kind of what I've always done. I didn't have a
Mhm.
degree, so that's what I was kind of looking for, and I like that anyway. With sales, kind of earn your potential is a lot higher than like hourly. So anyway, so I applied, and then I knew that you were doing something with like life insurance or whatever. So I gave you a call and I basically kind of asked you about it. I was like, hey, it's this place. Have you ever heard of it? And I think you just kind of told me, oh yeah, that's where I am. And then you were like, no, like, don't do it, Ryan.
I remember too going through it because the funny thing is about that place, they actually obviously they were very higher oriented, but it was you got like a bonus. Like I think if you hired somebody and they sold their first policy, you got like a
Hmm.
$1,000 bonus. But I remember just thinking, I was like, you were just about to get married, you were engaged
Yeah.
at
Yep.
that time. You weren't too long away from your marriage, and I was just like, I did not like that place. I hated the culture. I hated the idea of you working there. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't think even if Ryan did well here, that would make me happy
Hmm.
because I was like, I think I hated the idea of you being just a part of that culture. So I told you no. And then do you remember when that was?
That would have been probably late fall, early winter of, what was that, 2019? Yeah, because I got married in 2020. So that would have been late 2019. Yeah, for sure. And
Right. And
then
so I was only going to be there for like another few months and then left there. A few months after that, I started with FFL, and then I text you. I didn't even realize until we were talking earlier that it was almost right away. And the
yeah.
cheesiest text ever. I was like, "Hey, bro, I found a gold mine," and then you just kind of watched for a little bit,
Hmm.
and then got tip dip. So let's start there. So when did you officially like start calling, setting appointments, running leads?
Yeah, the second week of January, I worked like a half week. So really, the third week of January was my first full week, and I worked. I mean, I started in like November, back last November, kind of getting contracting and going through everything, and then once I got back from like Christmas vacation, everything like that, I started going running, booking appointments, and trying to make some money, helps the family. So
Right. I remember your first week. Yeah, because yeah. It was right around that time. Because I remember for your first lead purchase, we were running some kind of holiday special. And
yeah,
so you bought
yeah,
a
they
ton.
I don't even know what kind of leads they were, to be honest. I don't know. They're instant 1 month, 3 month. I have no clue what I bought. I know they were internet leads, but I bought 268 of them. They were 75% off, and it was like $650 at
Yeah.
75% off. So I had no clue how many leads I had, like what kind of a great deal that was. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's why I was successful at the beginning, because I just had so many leads, to work.
Yeah, yeah, you really put the work ethic in too. I remember because you were pounding them, and then you just ran appointments. And I think like a lot of people new to this industry. And for you, obviously, been in sales and had been successful, at other places. But coming over here is completely new industry, a little bit
Mhm.
different type of sales. And I would say, like a lot of people, you made a good chunk of rookie mistakes there at the
Oh yeah.
beginning, but you overcame it pretty quick just with work ethic. Talk to us a little bit about that. You starting and how that kind of beginning looked for you as you
Mhm.
slowly improved.
Yeah, so for January, in about 2.5 weeks, two and a half, I guess it might have been almost 3 weeks. I wrote about it was like 18,000, so not
Mhm.
quite a full month. I actually that's what I issue paid. I don't know what I wrote. I issue paid about 18,000, so I did really well. Obviously, that hit me, and I worked real hard that whole first basically that first month. I worked really hard, and then I don't know. I kind of all that money deposited into my bank account, and I kind of started to, I guess, rely on whatever type of skill I thought I had developed after my
Mhm.
first 2 weeks, like in the business. And then
Yeah.
from that point on, I did kind of get a little lazy, like that $20,000, for that first month for sure, made me like not work as hard. So then my issue paid numbers like steadily declined. I think the next month was 15, and then I did 13 and 12. And I had been increasing my lead spend each month as well. So I was making a little bit less and spending a little bit more on leads. And looking back, really, I just didn't work as hard as I needed to. Like that first month, I was always dialing in between appointments or door knocking, everything like that. And then the next couple months, I stopped doing quite as much of that. I would work really hard on dial days, but then on my run days, if I wasn't in an appointment, I would just be sitting in my car watching Netflix. So then, yeah, I kind of got to a point where, yeah, I kind of got, pretty low point where it was either, okay, we got to make this happen, or, I didn't know what I was going to do after that. So I just kind of got to a point where I realized how valuable my time is, that I had been
Mhm.
wasting so much time. So there's so many times now where I'll always dial in between appointments. If I have more than 5 minutes, I'm dialing in my car for the next day. And if I have more than 30 minutes, I'm door knocking. So there's so many times now where I just realized that 30 minutes of my time can be worth $3,000. I can't tell you how many times I've booked appointments in my car for the next day. And the next day, the only thing that I sold were the ones that I booked the day before in between appointments. And that's money that I never would have made, and that adds up. That activity really compounds.
Oh, dude, 100%. I think I've told this story a couple times, but I'll never forget it. Like it almost feels like it happened yesterday. I remember having a gap between appointments, like a pretty significant one, like
Hmm.
2 hours or something like that. And just thinking like, oh, wow, I don't have any appointments. Like I went and, grabbed a coffee and grabbed a
Yeah.
lunch. And I was sitting out front of, in like a grocery store parking lot, like watching, a movie or something
Yeah.
or YouTube videos, and just thinking like, oh man, like I wish I was writing more. Like, and then I was like, I got on Serve the People, and I was on our the group chat, and I was looking at it, and I just started Steve Giordano, and I saw like 2000 AP door knock in between appointments.
Yep.
And I was like, here I am. I'm in this parking lot. I got crumbs on my shirt. Like I'm like ready to take a nap, 5 minutes away from my next appointment, just chilling here. And I was like, oh, like this is what a winner does.
Hmm.
Like, and I'm not doing that right now. Like it's not, and it's one of those things you really have no excuses, because he didn't do something. He's like, oh, got this crazy sale, that no one could get, or overcome
Yeah.
this thing. It was literally, he was just working harder than me.
Yeah.
And that in my mind was not acceptable. Like if
Hmm.
someone is just better than me, like of course I can try to raise up my skill level, but at the end of the day, you can make an excuse there. But if someone is just outworking you, like they're just putting in more activity, you have zero excuse, you
Yep.
know?
For sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay,
And
so go ahead.
I was just saying, my goal is always like through door knocking and dialing every week. I want to book an extra 8 appointments, dialing in between appointments or door knocking. Because what that does, that gives me a full extra run day a week. 8 appointments is a full run day. And so a full run day for me is usually worth $2,000 to $2,500 over the course of a month. I write about 8 to 10K a month. So it'd be between a run day is worth $2,000 to $2,500. So over the course of a month, if I book an extra 8 appointments every week, whether it's door knocking or dialing, that's an extra $8,000 to $10,000 in my pocket every month, which is an
Yeah.
insane amount of money. and it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. It's just a little bit of extra work.
Wow, that's I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say it just like that, but that's an awesome way to look at it. I mean, it's true. I mean, you're really just working the numbers. I
Hmm.
mean, you can only work requests, leads of people so many times before one just falls into your lap.
Yeah.
like
Before they
like
they
oh
have you walk up to the door and they have the check stamped on their forehead. They're like, "Come
yeah,
here."
basically. And so okay, so wow, so that's really telling kind of what you're saying. So you came in right off the bat, had a decent, week, even though you didn't know a lot, you just came in, you worked hard, and then you saw that money hit your account, and it kind of started a spiral over the next
Hmm.
3 or 4 months where you kind of had gotten some extra skill initially, but then decided to kind of rest on that. And
Yep.
then, like you said, and that hurts, especially even though you're making a lot of money, like you said, you were steadily making less and less because of a lack of
Hmm.
activity, but spending more and more on leads because you wanted to improve how much you were writing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you're making so much money, but then you're spending it. So you like you said, you almost got to a point where it's crazy. And I've seen other people at this point, but they would think like, how can I be like on the verge of going broke here because
Yeah.
I'm making so much money. But it really is you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. But wow. And so let's go into that. So what was that? So obviously you got to that point where you had to make a decision. What helped you turn that switch and see like, oh, okay, like I need to make these changes and this is how I do it. What did that road look like for you?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I just kind of had to hit rock bottom. To the point where it was like, okay, the decision that I had was I either pay rent or I buy leads. And luckily, Gabe, I had a wonderful upline who, you were there for me time and time again. When I really needed it. That's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
point that I hit. When I hit that point, though, I was actually writing a decent amount. I had a month where I wrote, I think it was 21,000. My first month writing 21,000. And it was kind of even worse. So after I started working real hard, I wrote like 21,000 that first month, but I literally didn't get paid for that entire month because almost everything that I wrote went to chargebacks because I had written I had written a couple, rookie mistakes, 30-day free look period, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, when you're not working hard, that's when your biggest chargebacks are going to hit. So I had a couple
Yeah.
big chargebacks hit. So I had
Mm-hmm.
probably about a month. I think it was like 27 days where I went without getting paid. And I kept
Wow.
spending money on leads, kept spending money on leads. And I was working hard at that point. And so then I was really frustrated. And I remember I had talked to you one day. I started getting really frustrated with myself and my sales ability. And I kind of started getting down on, I didn't know if I was, going to be able to succeed. And I was listening to a training call and I was probably at that point was listening to like 8 hours of training a day. And then I
Mm-hmm.
was always trying to door knock, dial, everything like that. And I was putting in a ton of work, doing a ton of training. And I was honestly like overthinking the training and I was like over implementing, over training, I guess. And I heard Stephen Yee say on a podcast that he had an agent who had done really well for his first couple months and then he started to struggle. And so he just told him like, hey, look, don't overtrain yourself. Just be confident. You did well. Just go back to whatever you were doing before. So I had one day where it was a Wednesday. And the day before, I hadn't written anything. I had driven 2.5 hours that day to get to my first appointment, 2.5 hours back, didn't write anything. I had done the same thing the following day, 2.5 hours. Halfway through the day, I didn't have anything. And then I heard that and I was like, okay, you know what? I've done well. Like I know I have ability. I just need to trust myself and do what I do best. So in between my next appointment, I had about 30 minutes. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to get into my own mindset. I try to kind of be myself. So what I love to do, I love to watch The Office. So I watched an episode of The Office.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in there and my mindset was, okay, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know I can do this. I'm just going to do what I did before and be confident. And I went and I sold my next 3 appointments in a row. And then that really for me was the turning point, to where I was like, oh yeah, like I got this, like I now I had the work ethic at that point. I had the
Mm-hmm.
work ethic and I had realized that my ability was there, to be able to close at least 30-40%, which is an insane amount, but it's going to make me $8,000 to $10,000 a week. So, but that's where
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how that looked for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So wow, you went through a pretty huge evolution. You know, it's up to it's it was ups and downs. So you started off well, and I mean for people, and I mean this is honestly the uh perfect thing to talk about on the manager's call, because a lot of times we're hearing it from purely the manager's perspective, but this is really kind of people who are going to bring, cold market in, are going to be friends, they want to build an agency. I mean, this will be phenomenal for you down the line, because I know you aspire to build an agency,
Hmm.
to understand the mentality and the psychology of what I would say is, and not saying this in a demeaning way, and I think you know what I mean, but like the typical agent journey.
Hmm.
Coming into this, I would say of myself that I had a little bit of a leg up, in that, for one, I'd been in multiple sales industries for, much long, you very talented salesperson, but here I am, I'm like 8 years older than you. And I had all these years of sales experience, gone through multiple industries, got my butt kicked, kind of
Oh,
went
let's
through
see. It
these.
froze here.
Oh, yeah, I did freeze. Let me know when I got you back. We lost Ryan for just a second. He might not, he might have to leave and come back to the group. Yeah, I think that's what he's doing.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, my phone was tripping out.
No, you're good. There we go. Gotcha. Okay. Y'all good? You can hear me?
I missed a little bit of that there, but it sounded like gold, Gabe.
So I was just saying, uh, for someone like me, I've been in the sales industry. I've been 1099 for a decade. So I went through the same evolution that you went through here in other industries. Where I relied on my skill a little too much. You got lackadaisical, and kind of made a decision where, hey, I really need to turn it up. But you went through that whole process here, and I think for a lot of people that are going to come, you're going to bring people in. There is the feeling sometimes that, hey, I brought someone in like Ryan. Hey, this kid did 20K in his first month. He's good to go. Like he understands it now. He's gonna be fine for as long, as we go on. Da, 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 da. But you got to be watching out for the natural learning curve everyone's going to have to take.
Hmm.
And I would say now, even though you started about 8 months ago, now is where you are finally really getting in your groove,
Hmm.
and are going to be a consistent, you know 7 to 10K plus producer,
Yeah.
a week, where you have the skill, you have the work ethic, you have the confidence, you understand this industry enough, you understand leads enough, you got your cash flow and your lead flow right. And that takes time. And obviously that is, obviously it's huge for you. It's huge to our business, because obviously we want people who are, I decided when I started this industry, and I think Sean Mike, I didn't make this decision. Sean Mike made it for us, but he saw the insurance industry, like where I was at, where it was built on more people coming in the front door than you had going out the back.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason people were going out the back door, the reason I never wanted you to come to that other company is because there were no leads. It was a horrible structure where the managers, the people at the top weren't working. They were kind of making a living off the backs of
Yeah.
the agents that were, and that it just wasn't a good opportunity. People weren't making money, and I want our industry, our Family First Life and our brokerage to be people who are making money.
Yeah.
And for this is a business, and it can be difficult for people to learn. And what everyone just heard from you, I hope they were listening, taking notes, and they rewatch this. You're going to bring a lot of folks into this, and they're going to have this progression, and you got to help set the expectation. And and obviously, and you got to recognize people too. Like I recognize, like Ryan said something nice there a second ago about as far as how I support him, but I recognized that Ryan was a worthy investment, that he was a hard worker, and that he was going to apply himself. And if you bring people in who aren't going to do that, it's just not going to work. It's just not. And you're not doing them any favors by helping them think that it will. If someone's
Mm-hmm.
not going to come in here and they're not going to work hard and they're not going to apply himself, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah. That's
But
fair.
man, you've done great. So going to finish probably about 35K. You're at 12K for the week so far, and
Sir.
so crushing it. I think I saw the other day you're right around 22 issue paid for the month.
Yeah.
So
Through 3 weeks, I was at 22. Yeah.
oh, for week 3.
Yeah. That was through 3 weeks issue paid. Yeah. So I don't know what week 4, what that looks like yet, but
Oh yeah. What did you write last week?
last week I wrote 7. Try to see if it's on here. Last week I wrote 7. Yeah, so I only have the week 3, the through 3 weeks issue paid. I don't know what week 4 looked like. Issue paid.
Oh wow. Yeah. No. So I think, I mean, you could potentially crush 40 this month. Well,
Yeah,
we'll see.
that was my plan
We'll,
going in. So
we'll see how it goes. So okay, so taking a little turn here, because you are just getting into, obviously now, a little bit of recruiting and building an agency. What has that kind of look like for you so far, as what do you feel like, just kind of where you are at the very beginning? Because obviously we have some people on here, same thing as you, they're just getting to where they're writing 20, 30, 40 consistently, getting their leads, their cash flow, everything down, and they're starting to bring people in. What things have you kind of learned so far?
yeah, so this is what I've learned so far. So I've reached out to some of my warm market, a little bit of family, and up until a couple weeks ago, it's really just been like a couple of people that are real close to me that I think would do well. Just reaching out to them, seeing that they want to come on. I've brought on, I think, 3 or 4 agents so far, and then I have a couple under me already. So what I think the biggest thing that I learned, I can't remember who said this. I think it was Matt Borsch told me this, and it was, I'm sure he heard it somewhere else, no clue, but was find who you want to be in business with, like in the future. So like a lot of us, sometimes my mindset is like, oh, I know I could get this person to work here, let me reach out to him or let me reach out to her. And a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
those people that you could get to work here are probably those people that you were talking about earlier, right? Where maybe it's not worth investing into them because they're going to come in and they're not going to work that hard. They're not going to be successful. And then they're going to blame it on you when they're
Mm-hmm.
the ones who didn't pick up the phone and dial the leads, right? So I think
Right.
the biggest thing for me is just finding out, okay, who do I want to be in business with, and start reaching out to those people, especially once you're consistent, sharing your deposits, like, I mean, talk is cheap, but when you see those bank statements, you can't argue with that, right? Like, I mean, that
Right.
was one thing for me when you showed me, you sent me those, and I was like, dang, I was like, all right, Gabe, let's go. And that's really kind of what proves it to me. Had you never showed me those, I probably never would have came on.
Mm-hmm.
So just and you want to be careful. You don't want to make it sound extremely unbelievable, but just say, hey, yeah, I sat down 50 minutes with this person, I helped them, I made $2,000. This is the deposit that came in 2 days later, and then just kind of reaching out to them, and then again making sure that it's people you want to be in business with, people that you respect, people that work hard.
Yeah. I love the practicality of this. There's a lot in the insurance industry, especially. There's a lot of MLM culture, kind of like I was talking about that last company, where you're
Yeah.
just like you want to bring people in for you
Yeah.
almost, because you're not making that much money, and like, so you want to bring them in and try to make some money. You're not really thinking of them, and you're not thinking of long term. You're thinking of like right now. But I love this industry because obviously I could have never recruited a single person and still made well into six figures,
Yep.
every year just doing this job. And so it makes you think about it way more practical. Like I had people reach out to me when they heard that I was doing this, and I talked people out of this.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
some people I tried to talk out of it, and they said, yes, like Sean Barnes. I love the story because Sean was struggling at the beginning, and I tried my best to talk Sean out of it, just because he had a new kid, and I
Yeah.
could tell he was really stressed. And I was like, look, man, this will be here later. And he just made that decision for himself that no, he's like, I think I can do it. And obviously Sean is, crushing it now. But yeah, I that's such good advice. Just like, hey, you don't need to desperately like throw this, anyone with a pulse
Yeah.
try to get in here, especially when it comes to warm market. Because just like you said, like that was a concern with me as well. Like obviously I can't decide for somebody. Like so I made it known kind of what I was doing. I can't decide for someone, like just like I couldn't. I'm glad Sean didn't take my advice,
Mhm.
and he did, because Sean is obviously doing great now. But just like you said, looking for people that you want to work with, that are going to work hard, and that way you can be 100% honest with people, right?
Yeah.
Like you could tell, like, hey, like I was just talking to Mindy, who a lot of people know, who does well, and one of the first conversations we had was, what are the pros and cons of this business?
Yep.
And so I just had a real honest conversation. These are the things that are great about this industry. These are the things that are not so fun about this industry. You're gonna, especially when you're new, you're gonna be dealing with chargebacks. You might have a day where you drive around a whole bunch and you didn't sell anything, and maybe even a person or two was rude to you. That's a reality of this industry. But the pros are, if you work consistently, you're out there trying to serve people, you can make 20, 30, 40,000 a month,
Yeah.
and
For
and
sure.
be your own boss. And good stuff. And then I love what did you say at the end that I laughed at?
And I say a lot of things, Gabe. Say a lot of
I
things.
know, I know. There's something I wanted to comment on. One of the last things that you said, not about recruiting.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
I can't think of it. Anyway, so all right. So what does the future look like for you, Ryan? So obviously you come through a big growth point to growth time to get here, right? And consistently. I know you want to grow. What do you want to achieve by the end of this year?
For sure. I mean, by the end of the year, I'm shooting to hit Hall of Fame. So I got to do like 12K a week. Is my personal pace what I got to do to get there. So I gotta be at 12K a week. So I'm there right now. Just got to keep this up as far as personal production, and then as far as an agency, I'd like to be at 300,000 by the end of the year. So I'll be getting a recruiter here pretty soon, and starting on working with the agency building, and helping bring agents on, and then helping people be successful. Like for me personally, like my goal is just to help as many people as I possibly can. I know the spot that I was in, making $2,000 a month. The wife had to work almost 40 hours a week just so we could pay the bills, barely saving any money. Not because we spent a ton of money, but because we just didn't make a lot of money. And, so I mean, I know that there's millions, hundreds of millions of those Americans out there in the spot that I was. And so if I can help people get to a spot where they're financially free, then that'll make me feel awesome. And personally, I know that I am at my best when I'm like coaching other people and helping bring other people up, because it's something that just kind of fulfills me. And I think it fulfills everybody, when you're legitimately helping someone and someone's family out. So that's my goal, because I know if I'm helping people out and I'm making a difference in other people's lives, like it is going to make me a better person. And then it's just, I mean, the business and the money will just kind of be a side effect of that. But
Yeah, yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man. That's a beautiful thing. And you, dude, going back, last thing I'll say is going speaking on exactly what you said. This industry completely changed for me. So I started in April of 2020, but the way I looked at the business changed in January of 2021 when I got a call from the same guy I was talking about earlier, Sean, and who had, come into the industry September, against my wishes, full time. And he had told me, that he had been really struggling at that time with some debt. And it was one of the reasons that he was so stressed, which was a lot to him and his wife at that point, two kids. They had about $20,000-$30,000 in debt. And then January called me kind of like, with tears. And he's like, dude, we just paid it all off.
That's amazing, dude. That's so awesome.
And I remember just at that time, it was like a light switch clicked, in my head, like, wow, this is more than just making good money. It's more than just helping our friends and having a good time. This is really changing people's lives.
Yeah.
Like it really can. Like it sounds like such a trope, and so there's so many crazy stuff out there. People claim do this, but I mean, I saw it. I saw it change my best friends. One of my best friends' lives. One of the first people I met at college. We've been great friends ever since. 10 years later, and he's telling me, with tears, like, "Hey, come down. I want you to celebrate, my birthday with me. We just paid off all this debt. It's great, man. Thank you so much for introducing me to this opportunity." And I was like, "Hey, man, it was all on you. I told you not to do it." So, but no, that's awesome, Ryan. And dude, with your work ethic, I'm sure you're doing it. I mean, you're well on the way. You got 12K right now,
Yep.
for this week. So I know you can do it. Well, awesome, man. Well, hey, obviously, we got a good chunk of people on here. Some of the people watching, are brand new, and I'm sure, these always get shared. Way more people watch. They always got a few hundred views at least. Some of the people are where you are at. Some of the people are right in the middle. Maybe their story is just the same as yours, and they came out, spitting fire, and then they got lackadaisical, and now they're trying to dig themselves, maybe even have a little bit of a hole. What would be a parting shout that you would give to all that would apply to all those people you think would be a blessing to them?
Yeah, I would say that we've been like just the culture in America for so long has just been like go clock in, work for somebody else, like have them contribute to your 401k, make your whatever 60, $70,000 a year and be, comfortable, which is, it's not a comfortable life, it's a stressful life. But for so long we kind of like have been conditioned to where we don't see our time as valuable, right? Especially like nowadays, like we live in just such a comfort driven society, like back 200 years ago, if you weren't working, your family wasn't going to eat. Now today,
Right.
people work kind of because they have to, they work to be comfortable, to be able to do things. Most people, I feel like that's why most people are working. Okay. And so you
Sure.
got to flip that mindset from your time not being valuable or it being worth $15 an hour to somebody else to realizing that your time, like I said it before, 30 minutes of your time can be worth $3,000. I've had it like that where I sit down and I dial for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and I make $2,000-$3,000 the next day because of the work that I did the day before. And it might not
Mhm.
be immediately that you see that money coming back from your time, but dude, when you can flip your mindset and you can realize, all right, watching Netflix for an hour in my car is going to add no value to my life. But if I sit here and I door knock 3 people, I can help, help a family out with life insurance and make $1,000. And dude, when you can get a hold of that concept, like you're not going to want to go on vacation. You're not going to want to take time off. You're not going to want to be lazy, and it'll just change. And you'll have such a motor behind you. You're almost not going to be able to stop working because you know how valuable your time is, and it'll boost your confidence so much. And when you keep that activity up, more activity, you keep getting better and better. Your confidence gets higher and higher, and it's just like a snowball effect.